She is a woman of strength, a rare soul, an essence of beauty. She connects and supports other queens. With that said, let me extend a warm welcome to the She Podcast, where we unite women from all backgrounds and inspire one another to greatness.
Sharon Machethe. She's going to be sharing her journey or her experience about living positively with HIV. And as I've indicated, let's not interrupt her through her talk. Let's give her a chance to talk. Once she's done, then we will open the floor for everyone. Just don't forget to raise that hand, press that hand thingy there for us to be able to let you in. Shares, are you here? I don't see her on my list.
Yes,
Shares?
I am here.
Oh, okay.
You.
Yes, I'm going to hand over the mic to you to speak to us. Over to you, my dear.
All right, thank you so much, Sister Honolo. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Kidivoni Sharon Machethe, HIV and AIDS activist, as Sister Honolo has actually indicated. I talk about HIV, I teach, I motivate, and my reason being that actually I'm not, I have HIV, I'm not HIV, I'm still Sharon. So, and I would like to thank the host of He Connects, ke leboga, like this platform itself, and also for inviting me, like to share my experience with the few people that I gathered here today, and ke leboga also everyone that has tuned in. Where do I even start? Okay, hence I said I'm an HIV and AIDS activist, right? My aim for being an HIV and activist is because I realize that in today's world, as much as we are so educated and we are so much connected, we are yet ignorant to the virus itself. I found out this when I would tell people about my status. There's still stigmatization, there's still discrimination out there. And also when I tell them that my kids are HIV negative, and people are still like, Njani, how is that even possible? So, and also Cecily Ronolo played a huge role that I end up becoming a strong HIV and AIDS activist. So, but then to start off, I'm going to talk about my childhood days. Reason for this is because deep down, I wish that even if those days someone had that knowledge and would have seen me, I would have found out about my status before it led to me being like how do I put it? Before it led to me having AIDS, because there's a difference between being HIV positive and having AIDS. In my childhood days, I was always in and out of hospitals. I remember Gutuma Khoka. I think I saw Gutuma Khoka in here. I feel so special today. So he took me to this Pillow Pepper, these trains that have doctors where you go and consult. So one nurse literally said, "No, one or two are tested for HIV," and he was so furious. Yani, you're just a child and stuff like that. And if only by then I would have tested, maybe. I'm just saying maybe, but then everything happens for a reason. So I'm going to talk about a bit about how I found out. When I found out I was HIV positive, I was still a virgin. I did a YouTube video about it. So it started off with certain symptoms. I had oral thrush, blur vision, which is something that I've been experiencing as I was growing up. Vagina thrush, it was terrible even at my young ages, which I believe was the reason that nurse told my brother that maybe I should get tested for HIV and AIDS. So when I found out, I was still a virgin, and I went to Bariking health center in the University of Limpopo. When I went there, the first time I went there, I had problem with ulcer. I didn't know anything about HIV. I never even suspected that I had HIV. I mean, like, why would I? Deep down, I knew that I've never had any sexual intercourse because that's how everybody sees it. In order for you to be HIV positive, you need to be, being engaging in sexual activity, and yet the stigmatization that comes around it, even to or HIV positive, she sleeps around. So
Shaz, can I please stop you for a moment? There's a background thing in your like kind of sound. I'm not sure if maybe it's how
sorry,
you're
I
holding.
think it's my phone moving. I was moving around. Can you hear me
Yes,
now?
we can hear you now. It's much better. You can proceed. Thank you.
I'm so sorry about that. So, hence, I was still talking about how I found out I had symptoms, HIV related symptoms. From my childhood, I've always had a problem with fever, vagina thrush, ulcer, blur vision, and the last one, which was actually a bomber out of everything, I thought I had asthma. Yeah, how could one relate asthma with HIV? Okay, fine. I went to health center. When I got there, the nurse on the third visit, I had oral thrush. My tongue, initially, it was white. It had these sticky white things. And she's like, you know what? Last week you were here because of ulcer, and now you're back with oral thrush. Do you experience vagina thrush? Do you sweat at night? And my answer was yes. So she's like, can I please test you for HIV? I'm like, at the back of my mind, I'm like, why? Because at the end of the day, I'm still a virgin. There's no need for that. But I still believe that I tell people every day that I still believe for me to agree on getting tested on that day, it was only God. Because I myself, I cannot explain how I gave in to getting tested to HIV while I was still a virgin. So she tested me and she hid the testing kit itself. So, to my surprise, she already knew based on what I told her on my symptoms and everything. So, she just pushed it to me without even looking at it. She said, what do you see? I told her the two lines, and what does it mean that I'm HIV positive? I lost it right there. My world was shattered. I was not always this brave and always this strong. I didn't accept my status from the word go and thinking, you know what, I'm gonna own it from immediately to find out that I had a lot of depression, a lot of anxieties, and what made it worse is that when I found out my CD4 count was lower than 100. What do I mean by CD4 count lower than 100 and viral load was higher than 5,000 copies? For one to be declared, I'm not a medical personnel, I'm not a healthcare practitioner, but according to my research, for one to be labeled as that they have AIDS, their viral load is going to be above 5,000 copies. And viral load is the virus itself, and then CD4 count is your normal white cells. My white cells were below 100, so I had AIDS when I found out. So from there on, beside being in denial and going to multiple clinics to get tested, I started getting sick. How did it start? First, I had an asthma attack, which I thought it was an asthma attack from as I was growing up. And to my surprise, or at that time it was still a shock, but they found that I've got TB. And symptoms of TB, for those that don't know, I think I should just also put it out there. You find that when you're sleeping, you're sweating in your sleep, your joints are painful. I had all those symptoms, but because of lack of knowledge or maybe being ignorant or not having somebody going out there and educating people about the virus, I didn't know. So I had TB. From TB, I had the ulcer itself that I thought it was ulcer combined with the ARVs and the Nevirapine, the what do you call this? The medication for TB. It's been years since I found out, since I took those itself. So what they did is that they were too hypertoxic. They damaged my liver. So my stomach got like very swollen. Yeah, like a whole, like a pregnant lady or shock people. And I was in and out of hospital. So from when I found out about my status to now, or before, maybe 3 years before, I was in hospital for almost all my life. And when I found out, it became worse to a point that I was in and out of hospital for a period of 8 months. So from there on, I started recovering. How did I recover? One may ask, because I find people asking me, "Ore, you've been through so much," to a point that one nurse said it to me. My sister reminded me about this. She's like, "Even you were namudimanya koehwa." In translation, God doesn't want you to die. I mean, like, you came here with uh, hypertoxic, hypertoxicated liver. You came here with TB, you came back with, at some point I got sores. Apparently that's what the ARVs does when they're cleaning your immune system. Were like these terrible sores from head to toe. Like I had sores in my hands, in my arms, on my legs, everywhere. They left no spot. Like, and they were so painful, and they were, I don't know. Guys, it was a terrible experience, which at some point I tried to bury it inside. But now that I do talk about it, I feel I've healed, and the way I healed it was by talking to people. I remember there's a Mankweng, those are from Pelokwane. There's a Pelau PD center whereby people with HIV take their ARVs. So there were these young kids that are just going through this phase and nobody to tell them how to handle it. That's when I stepped up. I started teaching them drama. I started teaching them poetry, how to express themselves, how to handle this thing. Mind you, at that time myself, I'm not yet healed. So one thing that I can say healed me was to be there for those kids. And even today, what makes me stronger every day and understand that everything happens for a reason and heal from those wounds. After I was, because I faced death, in those 8-month period after finding out about my status, I faced death. I almost died. But after starting to be an HIV and AIDS activist, talking to people, I learned that, for me to heal, it was because I spoke up. Because at first, when I was keeping it to myself, what was bothering me firstly was what will people say? Will I still live the same life that I used to live before? You understand? So when I started saying, you know what, I don't live by people. I need to speak up. I need to be there for people. I need to be there for somebody. As hence, nobody was there for me that was HIV positive. So Silkaronolo has been there with me through the whole journey. But I needed somebody that has went through what I went through, even though it's not similar, but I needed somebody that knows what exactly am I talking about when I talk about ARVs and their smell and their aftertaste. You understand? So by then, that's just a summary of how I found out the challenges that I faced. I did face a lot of discrimination, but then the good thing is that I told myself that people are only going to treat me the way I treat myself. So if I'm going to talk about it with shame, people are going to, discriminate me and take advantage of the fact that I'm weak when it comes to my status. So I decided to be the brave one. I said, you know what, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to own it, because whether I'm brave, whether I'm sad, whether I'm depressed about it, I'm still HIV positive. Nothing is changing. So one thing that most people tend to ask me is, okay, Shez, how do you handle HIV and relationships? Guys, it doesn't mean that when you're HIV positive, it's like awsana hope karamjolo. One thing that one guy that actually, after I disclosed my HIV status to, when he told me that he can't continue with our relationship because of my status, he taught me that people date based on preference. What do I mean? You find people saying, I like a thick girl, others love them cavalicious, myself, I like them tall, dark, and handsome. So I realized that it's all about preference. So with that saying, if you want to start a journey with your HIV positive life and then you find somebody that discriminates or rejects you, basically, what you can tell yourself that it's all about preference, because being HIV positive, it's at the end part of who you are. It's part of your identity. You're not just black anymore. Maybe you're not just white. You're not just a male. You're not just a female. You're not just thick or thin. You're also HIV positive. It becomes part of your identity. As much as we might put it up there and say, you know what, it's not who I am. I'm still Sharon. Yes, I'm still Sharon. I'm Sharon who is HIV positive. It's not written on my forehead, but the fact that I'm not hiding hiding it and I'm not ashamed about it, makes other people treat me the same way that I treat myself. I mean, like, let's say today I'm just going to pick anyone, Pulani, Malamala, I come to you and say, you know what, I'm HIV positive, I'm so stressed. You're going to want to sympathize with me. So you're going to throw me a pity party. But if I come to you and say, you know what, like HIV positive, so that's the point I'm trying to make when you're in a relationship, or maybe when you want to go into a relationship. Don't go there like when you disclose them, because by the way, before I forget, please note that according to the South African law, you are regulated to disclose your HIV positive status to the person you're having sexual intercourse with. Most people don't know that. So when I met my current partner, when we were talking over the phone, it's still new love. After my guy rejected me, well, I told myself, for the next guy that I'm going to meet, from the word go, I'm going to tell him that I'm HIV positive, so that when he leaves before I catch any feelings. So I told him, like, yo, are you sure you want to be with me? Because I like making fun of my smarties. I say, you're not policing when bullet AK-47. The pill itself is big. Not that it can go through the throat, but it is actually big. So from there on, at first he thought I was joking because I told it so simple. I still find people who are like, is there a person, sorry, English in a locha, is there a person who can openly talk about their status, because it's still being seen as a taboo, like it's impossible, nobody can ever do that when you're lying and stuff like that. So when I talk about it, it actually gives me the upper hand, even in the relationship. When you open up and you be bold about it, you own it, because I keep saying it is my new reality. As much as anyone can get infected at any time, if you just own it and say, you know what, this is my new reality, this is who I am. As much as we can introduce when you're meeting a new person, you can tell them, I've got 2 kids, or I've got a baby boy, he's 7, he's that and that. You need to also have that strength to say, you know what, I'm also HIV positive. I take my treatment. My viral load is lower than detectable. That means I can't infect the next person. You understand? So the challenges that I've faced is being rejected in the relationship department. And also another thing that I've seen since the years of myself being an HIV activist is the fact that most people fear to disclose. Hence, I've said by law you are regulated, and I know it can be hard, but the way you conduct yourself, it makes it hard for the next person to actually diminish you or maybe reject you. With the guy that rejected me, it was because I was not yet educated, or I was not yet at peace with my new reality. I was scared. I was scared that he was going to leave me. And I felt the guy, but what he said and made sense to me was that it's not that I don't love you. It's just that I don't think I prefer dating somebody that's HIV positive, which is why I'm saying that it's all about preference in the relationship. So whether you fear that this person is going to leave you, if they really love you for who you are, they will accept you for who, like for what you have. As much as we na lengwana ba ihapale na mani instead, you understand? So that's my experience when it comes to relationship. And another myth that people, like, I feel I need to address it is that, or what that I always address, you find that people, I'm HIV positive, but my partner is HIV negative. And most of them are like, that's a lie, it's impossible. Or immediately when I started the journey of, talking about HIV in the open, most people judged my partner, like they assumed that he's HIV positive, and that's not always the case. And that's what I need to tell people, and I'm happy to be telling you guys is this: as much as when you start taking your ARVs, what the ARVs do, they suppress the virus, which is the viral load, to a point that it is not detectable. And in that way, your CD4 count, which is your normal cells, they start picking up and regenerating. And in that way, even now, in Kayaka test, if I go test, there's high chances that if my viral load is good and I'm taking my Smarties very well, it's going to say that I'm HIV negative because it is lower than detectable. It can't be detected. So in a relationship, you need to tell that person the ways that they can protect themselves. We have what we call PrEP and PEP. PrEP is pre-exposure pill. Immediately, let's say now you're dating someone, they say no, they fear that they're going to get this virus. You can tell them no, you can take PrEP. I'm not sure. I've never actually, but again, PrEP, it's actually 7 days, I think. And then there's post exposure pill, which, Lina, guys, I didn't know about these things until I became HIV positive. And there are so many people that don't know about this. So after you've been in a sexual intercourse with someone that is exposed, or whether when you're exposed, you take PEP, post exposure pill. I think it's for 28 days. I think there's a pharmacist in here who would actually correct me if I'm wrong. So, but then in relationships, it is possible for you to be in a relationship and obviously we condomize. So let's say now you're in a relationship with your partner that is HIV positive like me and you want kids. And by the way, I've got two baby boys. They are both HIV negative. Like Nababa, we were born in the 90s. There was no way that my parents could have protected me, and I'm not going to blame it on anyone. I'm just going to accept it and own it. So I'm not going to repeat the same mistake. Like a generational curse, if it's called that. So my kids, when I'm pregnant, I make sure that I take my ARVs. Like I cannot afford to miss a day or skip a day because now I'm no longer doing it for me. So as much as when we are trying to have a baby, my partner and I, he can be on PrEP or yes, mostly he's on PrEP, but even when my viral load is lower than detectable, he is not at any chance of being exposed to the virus. So from there, what happened is that my babies were conceived the normal way, and in Kazesh, guys, second bonds are hardly planned, by the way. So second bond was not planned. So um, when I realized that I'm pregnant, that's when Kitoma prenatal care. Then I knew that right there I cannot afford to to be 1 minute late or 2 minutes late because ARVs didn't want at a certain time every day because that pill itself lasts 24 hours in the system, and when that time comes, let's say Dinwaka 8, it has to be 8 every day. When I'm alone and don't have anyone growing inside me, it's easier to can say, oh fuck, I forgot. 5 minutes later, then I take the ARVs. You understand? But when I'm pregnant, I make sure that my alarm is there so that my baby cannot go through what I went through in terms of finding out that you're born HIV positive. Because in today's world, I believe that as it's possible for kids. Actually, it is possible. My kids are both HIV negative. So, lastly, with my kids, when they are born, what happened is that they are going to get tested for HIV positive. HIV. When they get tested for HIV, and if the first test comes back negative, they are going to be given a medication called Nivarapine. Nivarapine, the baby takes it for what's it? I forgot. I think it's 2 weeks. I think it's 6 weeks. 6 weeks, yes. They take it for 6 weeks, and then you keep taking them back for the test, the regular test for HIV. So in that way, I've covered relationships and um, sexual activities with somebody that's HIV positive, and if you're also trying to conceive, have a baby. So I think I've covered that, and also how can a person protect themselves if they're in a relationship with somebody that is HIV positive. That's PrEP. You always, pre-exposure before you're exposed, and if it's after you find out there's post-exposure, then you protect yourself and also condomize and make sure where another person who is HIV positive, you commit to your Smarties. Guys, there was no magic. There was no pastor that prayed for me and then I how do I put it? My virus become lower than detectable. It was only ARVs. Smarties saved my life. And when I'm talking about pastors, allow me, and I'm sorry because most of us, we are religious, we are, Christians and stuff like that. But what I want to tell people, and I think I should make a video about this, is that you find that, and Cecily Sharon, sorry for wasting time, I'm almost finishing, but I need to put this out there. You find that people go to Pastor A, B, and C, or Koko Ban, and then Koko Ban and Pastor Mama and give them whatever they give them, and they pray for them, and then they say, go test. I'm praying for you. You are healed in the name of ABC. Go get tested, and your results are gonna come back HIV negative. And then you go, you get tested, and let's say now you found out now, and then you started taking your ARVs. After 6 months or so, you go to Pastor or Kokoman Money, and then they do what they do to you, and they tell you that you are healed. So get tested. When you go for testing, you find that you're HIV positive. And then now when you say, you know what, you throw your ARVs away, that is dangerous. That is something that I want to tell you guys, and you should pass the message on. Even if they prayed for you, and I believe there's a high power, there's a healing power, there's all that, just don't stop taking your ARVs. Why am I saying it's dangerous? It's dangerous because you might find that, yes, they're powerful and all that, but you might find that the reason why you tested negative, it was because your viral load was lower than detectable. But I'm sure now, like a viral load, you understand what am I talking about. Your viral load was lower than detectable. That's why you tested negative, not because the healing power is upon you. And once you stop your ARVs, what's going to happen is what we call relapsing. When you literally you relapse to a point that when you start taking your medication, it's resistant. That means that the medication cannot be able to help you anymore. Then you're gonna start, you're gonna get sick and eventually get AIDS, and unfortunately you die. So in order for you to continue, okay, the best part is for you to continue even though you know deep down you're healed. I mean, like, you have nothing to lose. It's just one pill every night, and like, you just take one pill every night, and deep down you'll be like, yo, pasta and coco ban healed me. You understand? And on that point, I think, do I still have more time? So I just
Do you have any other things that you would like to add, Shares?
yes, just a few, just a few.
Let's give you 2 more minutes just to wrap up.
All right. So in that saying, guys, HIV and AIDS is not a death sentence. But if you don't take your ARVs, it will be the end of you. And I need people to know that it is possible to come out of this stigmatization. And one last point, okay, not really the last, because I talk too much, guys. Please excuse me, I talk too much. But is that as much as you're HIV positive, it is possible to live a normal life. I've lived a normal life. I'm the testimony. What I can advise anyone is that they need to know about the virus before actually judging themselves, because discrimination starts with you when you are discriminating yourself, when you are rejecting yourself, rejecting ARVs. And those people that test and then they find that they're HIV positive, then they don't take the treatment, and then you meet somebody like me and then you reinfect me, because there's what we call reinfection, which is more dangerous than the initial infection. So in that saying, since I think I've just went around everything, but in that saying, my message of the day is that we can still come out alive. We can still fight and, live a normal life, because life experience cannot be bought. You have to go through it in order to do it. And yeah, thank you so much. You can live a normal life, have kids that are HIV negative, and yeah, thank you. Over to you, Sister Sharon.
Wow. Thank you, Shares. Just a side note, please put your mic on mute. As she's busy talking, for those that do not know, Shares is my younger sister. As she's busy talking, I'm just like, wow. It's like, oh, really? Can she? Wow, well spoken. Wow. My sister, really? So I've never really listened to her speak, because I speak more than her. So I never gave her a chance to. In fact, I've never really learned a lot as well as the about the virus. But what I want to add on is that as I was growing up, I found myself ke rata go dia dilo. I started doing love life in those years, early 2000s there, and then I got to University of Limpopo, and then I got to dia peer counseling thing, HIV stuff. Somehow I felt, oh God was preparing me for what's gonna come ahead, because I had to be her support system. But one thing that I just realized now is I've never sat down and listened to her talk about this whole thing. I've never sat and listened. It was always, wow, you're so strong. You're going to pull through this, but I'm really happy that, how, you make it. If I am to test HIV positive tomorrow, of course it won't be an easy thing, but I feel if I can get to talk to someone like you and hear your story and your journey, it will really do a lot to me. I know I usually say sorry when people share their story, sorry that you had to go through what you went, and with you being there, having you being through the phases that you had been, you were sick. You love saying that you had AIDS. When we say you were sick, you're like, no, say it. I had AIDS. And I remember there was a particular day when I came to visit you in hospital. You were in the isolation room because the way that you were so sick, in public hospital, they never really put a lot of people in isolation, but you were in isolation. And I came there and the bed was made up. And I felt cold and heat at the very same time. I'm like, Shaz, Kidibon. And you're like, I'm not dead yet. I'm just in the bathroom. From that moment, that's when I knew, this one, she's a soldier. You are going to come out of this stronger, because you didn't like that sympathy from the word go. We were trying to be strong for you, but you were more stronger for us, as because every day when we were looking at you, we were so scared. This one Ramolo, this one. People had your days. We were counting your days. We all had your days numbered, basically. But God showed us through you. Thank you very much for coming here and talk to us tonight. Lots of love and strength to you. Before I open the floor to everyone, Shaz did mention that she doesn't really have much experience or information regarding PrEP and PEP. So we have invited someone who is more knowledgeable on those two. Sis Pretty, are you available? Sis Pretty?
Yes, I'm available.
Okay, no, thank you, my sister. We're just gonna.
Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you. So I'm just gonna hand over the mic to you so that you can talk more about the PrEP and the PEP before we open the floor to everyone. Over to you, my queen.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. On the speaker, it's Pretty Machethe from ULP Education Program. So, yeah. On our program, we work HIV testing services, PrEP and PEP. So I'll be touching more on the PrEP and the post-exposure prophylaxis, the HIV testing, and the window period. So on PrEP, PrEP is a pre-exposure prophylaxis, meaning that it plays a role of a sort of a prevention pill for HIV. So what it does is that it reduces the risk of being HIV infected by 90%. That says that it is not 100%. It does not protect one from HIV 100% so that means that in each and every medication one is given, it is not 100%, but it is 90% protective of anything that you are given. Some medication tend to say 98, some tend to say 99. That says that the remaining percentage, it is in the hands of the user if they are using the medication correctly and consistently so. So the PrEP, how the PrEP works is that you go to your testing unit, and then if you test negative, then it's an option. It's not by force. You opt for PrEP. How it works is that it doesn't work immediately. It's not effective immediately after taking it, but it is effectively if you take it correctly and consistently after 7 days. That says that when you are on PrEP, you must continue using the condom when you are to indulge in sex, because when you take it immediately, it does not really mean that you are protected, but it is more effectively when you have taken it correctly and consistently after 7 days. And then when it comes to PrEP, it does not really mean that you must take it your whole life. It just says that when you are at a point where you feel like you are at high risk of contacting HIV, then that is when you opt for it. But because now the things that happen around us is that most people are not knowledgeable. Most people don't believe that they can contact HIV. Most people tend to put others at risk, and they don't usually disclose their HIV status for some reasons. So I would say I would like to advise that you never know, and you can never tell with your eyes that someone is HIV positive or negative. But to be on the safer side, then you can use PrEP as a prevention method, a prevention pill against HIV and AIDS. And because we know that HIV is not only transmitted or infected through sexual intercourse, but it can also get infected by slight mistakes. It can also be infected from mother to child, I think, during pregnancy. And for some reason, some people were born with it but are unaware. Maybe some lost their parents after birth and they did not really disclose their status. Maybe some they were trying to assist and then but touched the blood for others. Some shared needles, some shared razor, and those kind of stuff, and they were infected. So I would like to say, just because someone is HIV positive, it does not really necessarily that they are sleeping around or they are careless. It just means that they are infected and we do not know the reasons. So to protect yourself from being infected, then you need to take PrEP, because you never know. You never know, and not everyone knows that they are positive, and not everyone is comfortable enough to share their status. So it is of paramount importance that you, after testing, you opt for PrEP. So PrEP, like I've said, it is protective but not 100%. So you need to take it consistently and correctly. That says you need to take it every day and at the same time. And then we have what we call the PEP, which is the post-exposure prophylaxis. The post-exposure prophylaxis was known to be given to people who have been at some point sexually violated. Being raped, yes. People who have been sexually violated, it was preferred for more. But it happens that at this our age and time, people tend to not be knowledgeable. Some tend to not know their status. Some tend to disclose their status after sexual intercourse. So that says to you, if you are to have sexual intercourse with a person whom you do not know their HIV status, you have to run to your nearest clinic within 72 hours so that you can get the post-exposure. So that says the post-exposure plays the role of Plan B, emergency pill for HIV and AIDS. If it happens you get raped, you run to your nearest clinic within 72 hours. If it happens you are to have sex with your partner and they did not disclose their HIV status and they were not honest, then you run to your nearest clinic within 72 hours. And if it happens that you are to have sexual intercourse with your partner and then they decide to take the condom off without you knowing, and they tell you thereafter, that says that you must run for it. You must run to your nearest clinic within 72 hours. And then when it comes to PrEP and PEP, we know that we've got partners, but for the mere fact of reality is that we do not know what they do behind our back. We do not know what they do when we are not around them. We are not really sure of where they are and what they are doing. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying your partner are not honest and loyal to you, but I'm just saying reality is you can never know what they do behind your back. For the fact that there are parents violating, they got kids outside of marriage, there are people who are raising kids violating they never knew about before, that says that anything can happen. So PrEP is not only for people who do not have partners, but it is an option for everyone. For the fact that there are married women or married men who were infected in a relationship because of the partner, I don't know, whatever that happened, I'm not sure of it, but it says to you, even when you are married, even when you have a partner or you do not, just opt for it, because you can never be sure of someone else's status. So yeah, that is all about PrEP and PEP. So yeah, PEP is an emergency pill it's an emergency pill for HIV. You take it within 72 hours of unprotected sex, 72 hours of unplanned sex, 72 hours of rape. And then we're going to talk about the HIV window period. The HIV window period at 6 weeks, that says to you, you should go for HIV testing services every
Is it me?
That is when it is detectable.
Says Pretty, we lost you there.
That is when it is detectable. That says if I am to have sexual intercourse on the window period.
Yes, please start from there.
Yeah, I'm talking about the window period. That says the window period, it's a time frame that you are given for testing. Is it clear?
Yes, we can hear you now.
It's the time period one is given for testing for HIV and AIDS, which is 6 weeks. That says that one should test for HIV every 6 weeks consistently. So why? Because the HIV virus is not detected same time after sexual intercourse, but it is detected thereafter 6 weeks. And then when they say you should test every 6 weeks, they are not saying that you are sleeping around, they are not saying you are careless, but they say you'll never when you have contacted or been infected. That says if you've been negative in the past 2 months, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll continue being negative forever. That says you should test every 6 weeks to check if you're still HIV positive or negative. If you are HIV negative. And then that says that you should opt for PEP. And then for PrEP. And if you are using PrEP, it does not necessarily mean that you should stop using your condom, because one, you can be reinfected, as they said before. If you are not reinfected, then you can get the the STIs. So yeah, that is all on PrEP and PEP and HIV testing window period. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you, Sis Pretty. Most of the time when you know certain things, you feel everyone else know, and we need, but also says Pretty, but also says Sharon, who having them to want to teach people, because the things that Sis Pretty was talking about, they're new to me. I didn't know about them. And I feel this is an education that we all need, because at the end of the day, Mosarana under 18 here, we have sex. And I think we are not living in the era, from what Sis Pretty was saying. I don't think the era that we live in, yes. So I cannot just take bophelo ba ka bo beya matsohong, ke bo beya matsohong a Jesu Christ sefapano. I'm shitting sefapano. So when I iketle. So what I'm saying, guys, please, Shares love saying something, as much as HIV is not, being HIV positive is not a death sentence, but no one wants it. Imagine in a case whereby somehow ARVs cannot be produced anymore. We're gonna die. But my point is, let's condomize, let's use all the measures to protect ourselves. Thank you very much, ladies, for sharing your experiences, your knowledge. We appreciate, and I feel we need to have these talks more often, because at the end of the day we know gore ko bedroom ka moka re a fihla ra di etsa dintho, so we need to protect ourselves. We have people who have their hands up. Ke tlo le bitsa ho ya ka line as you had raised your hand. We're gonna start with Rendani. Rendani, over to you, my brother.
Hi, how are you?
We are good, thanks, and yourself?
I'm amazing, thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful educational topic. Thank you, Sharon. I loved your story. I love the way you told it. I love your honesty and your freedom and your. It's beautiful. It's beautiful because I have friends like that as well. You know, who are very open about their status, understanding what it is, and how to educate other people. And the mere fact that I'm just giving you your flowers before I talk. The mere fact that you began your journey to help people when you were in, at your worst time as well, that was beautiful because you saw a need, because you went through it and you're like, you know what, I don't, these people, let me just help. That for me, I commend you for that. That's beautiful. Thank you for that. And also, I love the fact that as I'm listening to both the speakers that spoke, you guys are you articulated yourself very well. The information was very clear. And me being somebody that also educates people about these things as well, HIV and PrEP and PEP, I cannot fault anything that you guys said. You guys said it perfectly. I think at the end, what I can add as well is that, there are people. Personally, I've been I've taken both the PEP and the PrEP. When when you fuck up and you make a mistake, I'd run to the clinic as the lady was saying. I'm like, hey, that was the first time I ever heard of PEP. I never even knew at the time that there was anything called PrEP. So the PEP, I went there. And I said, you know what, hey, somebody just disclosed I was lying because I was just scared because I made a mistake. I'm like, hey, somebody just did this. And they gave me the pills. It was a 30-day pill, But let me tell you guys something that these two ladies did not tell you. When you start taking these things, you will be so dizzy. Oh my goodness. It is so strong. The PEP is so strong that I remember the first time I took it, when I got up, I literally almost fell over because no one told me that I should expect the dizziness. This is a drug that's going into your system. So just also be mindful of that. Be mindful of the fact that maybe for some days you might feel very tired. Most people feel tired. When it comes to PrEP and PEP, you can also hallucinate sometimes, but that's a very rare case where people hallucinate and have nightmares. So those are the other things that can happen. But other than that, for me, I had. You're disturbing me. Yeah, sorry. Other than that, for me, I had a different experience. So when I started taking PrEP, at the time I was actually dating somebody who was HIV positive. So for me, I got a disclosure, which is beautiful. People, you must disclose these things, because if there was no disclosure for me, then I would have not had the opportunity, number one, to get tested, and also to know and educate myself about PrEP. And the relationship was beautiful. For me, I was open-minded. I did not feel like this was something that I needed to end. Unfortunately for you, Sharon, you got somebody that maybe lacked education. I don't think it was more of a preference thing. I think they also lacked education, because the education really, really liberates you when you understand this concept, when you understand what HIV is, when you understand what is undetected is, when you understand the measures you can take, then that's when you can make a proper, informed decision. So most people still think like this is the 1990s, where HIV becomes a stigmatized thing, where somebody just says, I'm HIV positive, you just run. The people that run is only because they just don't know how to do better. So this conversation is very important, because then it educates the people out that are here. And also, you guys, when you're hearing these things, please educate other people as well, because some people, they're not HIV positive because they were hoes or they were bitches out there or they were sleeping around. There were some people are just unfortunate. You are just sitting at home, your husband or your girlfriend cheats. It's possible also to get through that. So people don't always put the judgment and this stigma around it to say that it's about sleeping around. Educate yourself so that when you do get to the position where you are faced with somebody you love who is HIV positive, you can make an informed decision that would not, you make a very, very informed decision. So I love this topic because honestly, this is what we need in this time and age. I can say a lot about this topic, but for now, I just wanted to say that it's possible to date somebody. By the way, I'm still negative even today. It's possible to date someone, and another thing, just one last thing. I mean, I personally think that when people take in PrEP, and it's true what the lady was saying. I just don't know what your name is. Sorry, I didn't see your profile. What you're saying is true, that it's 7 days before you must be taking PrEP for 7 days. But I always say to people that it's always safe to take PrEP every single day because you don't know, especially if you don't know when you're going to have sex. So it's better to take that PrEP every single day because what if you just so happen to have sex on day 5, or you know what I mean, you never know when you're going to have sex. So it's better for you to take that thing every day. And the joke that I always make to people is that you are taking a pill so that you don't take a pill. You're preventing so that you don't take a pill. So I always find it funny that you can take a pill to not take a pill. But anyway, thanks, Lithoganola and Geneva. You guys are doing an amazing job. Thank you for the education.
Thank you, Rendan. I always love hearing you talk because I know you always bring bullets. I know you always bring bullets. But you know what, from what he was saying and him sharing the experience as well, which like dating an HIV positive person, guys, imagine if it like lerato just because someone is HIV positive, and whether you don't wanna educate yourself on that, guys. Mo mojolong di a boa ha re tlo feta ke marato just because people are HIV positive. We educate ourselves, we condomize, we take PrEP. And from how I heard Sis Pretty and Rendan speak, and shares as well, it's just one pill. Got nothing to lose. But married or not married, in a relationship or not, or baby or good happy, I think PrEP maybe it's another way to go, and condom. Let's take let's take a pill to avoid taking a pill. So basically, that's all that. Thank you very much, Rendani. And then we have the next person, Ausi Rineilwe. Over to you, my lady.
Hi everyone. I don't have a question. Mine is not even a question. I just want to say, Shares, oh my goodness, I'm super proud of you, hey? I'm super proud of you. Lena, I didn't know that she's so well spoken. Like, I was so impressed the whole time. I was super impressed the whole time. The one thing that I'm taking away from what you were saying, my lady, is that sometimes life throws situations at you, and it's up to us what we make of those situations. So you decided to take a situation that a lot of people would deem as terminal, as whatever, all these things that where there's no light at the end of the tunnel, but you decided to take that situation and change it into something more positive. Okay, HIV positive, something more positive. So when life threw you lemons, you turned it into, lemonade. I love that. It goes beyond HIV. It goes beyond that. It goes into everything that we face in life. That when sometimes we go through difficult situations, not for ourselves, but for other people. So you went through that, and when you said that, as much as Lishonlo was there to support you, but having people that are going through the same thing that you're going through, it makes more sense, because then you're able to talk about the side effects together. So the things that we go through, sometimes they are more beneficial for people that may also find themselves in the situations that you are in. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Reneilwe. When you said when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. That's what I always say to her, but we always joke a lot. Even now, before we started the session, I was preaching to her, about lemons and lemonade. Yeah, and then Sesi Mambiar, Sister Reneilwe, Sister Letlhagonolo, le ska re nyatša, because they are our younger sisters. I think it's just a bigger sister syndrome, whereby we just feel our younger sisters or our younger siblings can't do anything. So we have to be the ones that they always have to prove themselves to us. So, Shaz, you gained my respect, my lady. Leave family meetings, I'll allow you to speak, because I would often look at you with that. When we are in family meetings or something, I give her a bomber eye that no, don't, you're not saying anything, keep quiet. Because you're always scared. What is the younger one gonna say? Please relax. But no, thank you, Sister Renele, for your beautiful words. Sister Mambi, over to you. Over to you, my lady.
Hi guys, thank you Keleboha Watubashi and he connects Lekgotla for having this wonderful session with us every Wednesday. And I'd also like to thank Sissy Sharon for her courage and for coming forth to educate us. So I actually have a question for her. Says Sharon, now I knew you from church, so I'm not going to assume that you still have that relationship with God, but my question to you is, how did your relationship with God change after finding out that you are HIV positive? Because obviously you lost hope. Okay, or I would lose hope and I would feel like maybe God does not see me or something like that. So I'd like to know how this whole thing changed your relationship with God, how it affected your relationship with God. Thank you.
Okay, that's a question that most people hardly ask me, because I always come out strong, but behind closed doors and before I got where I am today. To be honest with you, and to be brutal honest with you, Mambe, I had a problem, a serious one, with accepting that God is there. And I started asking myself, for all the times when I was praying, all the things that I've been doing, going to church, wouldn't, he has sent maybe a prophet to tell me that there's this and this happening into your life, before it got to a point, yeah, 80 now. It affected my relationship with God in a bad way, guys. I lost faith. I lost hope. I stopped believing in Jesus. I started saying he's a white Jesus. I might as well find myself the black Jesus. But mudimu, guys. God is God. He'll find a way to reach to you, even if he doesn't send an angel or maybe a prophet. He'll find a way to get into you and shows you the reason why certain things have happened. To be honest, as much as I'm HIV positive, and I still question the same God that I still believe in now, or I once lost hope in. What made me fix that relationship with God is to ask myself, it's when I realized, whether I have been warned, whether God is there or he's not there, what would have changed? My relationship did change with God. I'm not gonna lie. But after I realized the fact that I lived 20 years, 20 full years, I could have died. Kids that are born HIV positive in the 90s, most of them are no longer alive. I believe that there's a purpose, and I only found that purpose because God, I found that purpose when I started educating and freely opening up, and that's when I realized that no, but God was at work. I was busy laughing Mrs. Costa that whenever I feel down and I feel like my life has no purpose, there comes somebody needing help with HIV and accepting their status. I remember the time when I was about to give up on life itself, and I got a call from Tabela FM for interview. Every time when I'm about to fall, then God sends a signal that as Sister Fauna would say, you've got all the resources, you've got the voice, you've got the mouth, you've got the status, and you've got a phone. All you have to do is to reach more of my people and teach them about this thing, because there's a reason why you didn't die when most of them died. There's a reason why I lived for 20 years, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful that even if the relationship was broken, then it did get fixed after many years. I hope I answered you.
Sissy Mambi, are you answered?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. As much as this session is about you teaching and sharing your experience with you, guys, can I just confess, this session is just about me realizing, my younger sister, getting to know my younger sister today. So I loved how you answered, and wow, shares, wow. Okay, let me give the next speaker. Let me see who's the next one in line. Ausi, over to you.
Hi, thank you so much, Sister Sharonala, and hi to Shares and Pretty. Also, thank you very much, guys, for an educational talk. Shares, when she started, she said a lot of us, as much as we know about HIV, but we are ignorant. And I must say that's true. I thought I knew about HIV. We've been taught about HIV from primary up until the stage. We think we know, but there's so much that we don't know, right? So I have a question for Sis Preeti. You guys mentioned PrEP, it's like a pill that you can use to prevent yourself from getting HIV. So my question is, are you able to take PrEP on a long term? And if that's the case, are there any consequences? If they are, what are the after effects rather? So in my understanding, I always knew there's a certain pill that you can take. I didn't even know what they called. I knew about the post exposure. I didn't know about the pre, but now my question is, if you are taking PrEP, is it acceptable? Is it allowed to take it on a long time? Because in my own logic, it's like you are basically taking ARVs now, so what are the consequences? What are the after effects? Is it something that is acceptable or that is being promoted, or it should be taken on certain times, especially maybe for people who are trying to have a kid or whatnot, and then that's it? Or it's just like a prevention pill, pregnancy. So I would just like to be clarified on that, because I find the information quite intriguing. So let me not go further. That's my question, Sis Preeti. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your question. I forgot to mention something when I was on the speaker on the speaker the last time. As I forgot to speak about the side effect PrEP. When you first take each and every medication you take always has its side effect, and also it depends on the body, on your body as a human being, how it reacts. Remember, our bodies react differently to different medication for some reason. So most people, there are people who tend to have side effects, there are people who tend not to. But when it comes to side effects, PrEP, it's headache, it's nausea, it's vomiting, it's rash, and the loss of appetite. And then if you take before they give you PrEP, there's something they do, go the HIV testing services. They take your blood. They take your blood to check if there are any complications
on your body, and then I think they contact after 7 days, or they contact after 7 days to check how PrEP is treating you, and then they try to clarify some things on that. And then when you return back after a month or so, when you return back for PrEP after the pills are finished, they recheck with you. They recheck. It depends if you are using one testing service or you are changing over and over again. But when you are using one testing service, they recheck if they recheck the result from the blood they took, and then they check if the PrEP is still treating you well. If it's treating you well, I think they've got other option for that. I'm not really sure, but for the fact that they take blood and they check and they contact if there's anything that they've detected from your blood, then they communicate and they take it further from there. Are you answered, or is there something I forgot to say?
Partly, I think you haven't answered my question as to whether medically PrEP is to be taken for a long time, it's acceptable, it's encouraged, or is just people maybe taking it on long term just because they want to protect themselves. So I just wanted to understand from a medical point what is recommended.
Says Pretty, we also have Mr. Chweni here. I'm not sure if he would like to take that as a pharmacist. Mr. Chweni, would you like to?
Thank you, Sister. Yeah, can I try to answer her? Okay, in addition to what Sis Pretty said is, before we give you PrEP, medically there is something that we check, of which is creatinine. It's just how well are your kidneys functioning. If we find that your kidneys are not functioning well, then you don't qualify for PrEP. That is the only thing that we take precaution on, because ideally PrEP is supposed to be taken up until a person is no longer a risk category. I'll just clarify it later in terms of the risk, but Ms. Pretty did indicate. So a person who's on PrEP is supposed to be on PrEP every day throughout up until that person decides to say, okay, I'm no longer a high risk to say. But we do check the level of the function of the kidneys before we can say you need to be on PrEP for a very long time. But medically, yes, it's allowed for the person to be on PrEP, provided that their kidneys are functional. So at the beginning, we'll check them, and after 6 months, we'll still take blood to say, okay, since you have been on PrEP for a period of 6 months, how well are your kidneys functioning? If we find that the kidneys are still okay, you can continue PrEP. However, if not, if the kidneys are not functioning based on the lab results, then we'll stop PrEP and we'll advise you to say, okay, drink water. We'll still have to investigate what might be causing the non-functionality of the kidneys. But one of the side effects or the long side effects is PrEP do affect the kidneys. So the other things that might make the health professional to stop the PrEP is what Says Pretty indicated in terms of side effects, to say, okay, we know like our body function differently. For the first month, you will be experiencing those headaches, nausea and vomiting, but if they continue, then that's where in the health professional can say, okay, then we will have to stop PrEP and see how we can assist you further, and you will be advised to use condom as another method of prevention. But just to clarify something, what Pretty indicated was the 7 days is not like the 7 days part of it. We are saying you need to be on PrEP for 7 days. After 7 days, we will know that you will be safe. However, you still need to continue taking that PrEP up until you are saying you are categorized as low risk. Just to add, the risk part is we give PrEP to those people whom they know whenever they engage into sex, they don't use condom, or they've got more than one partner,
or is the shared situation where in one partner is positive and the other one is negative. So those kind of people, they need to be on PrEP for up until they say, okay, I'm no longer with that partner who is positive. Okay, I'm no longer having multiple partners. Okay, now with in terms of sex, I'm always using a condom. Then that's where in terms of the risk category profile, we'll say, okay, you can now stop taking PrEP. But if you are still not using a condom, if you are still having multiple partners, if you are still with a partner who is HIV positive, then you still need to be on PrEP up until every day you need to take that pill. Yeah, I'm not sure if she is answered, but that's how it is. But if not,
Mr. Chweni, we lost you there. But Auslesaho, are you answered?
Thank you very much. I'm answered.
Then clarify it further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm answered, guys. Thank you, Ospriti. Thank you, and Tate Chweni.
Wow, I must say, guys, condom ke kotse, condom ke lirumo, la kwa ke situnya. Anyways, Rendan, you raised your hand after the question was raised. I'm not sure if you had anything to add on. Sister C, I saw you. I just wanted to check if Rendan had a question or he just wanted to add on. If it's a question, then he'll have to pause and then we give Sasi, then he will follow. With Rendani? Rendani?
Sorry, I wanted to say something to Shares before. So before we close, Ceci can go. I'll go last. It's fine.
All right. I'll Sasi, over to you, my queen.
Thank you so much, and good evening to everyone. I hope you're well spiritually, financially, and emotionally. And if you're having challenges, may the Lord give you guidance. I don't know, Lithonel, if you saw me, I logged on and I logged off because I just became emotional. Mina, I'm a crybaby. I'm so emotional. Reason being, I've lost a cousin, a very closest cousin, who taught me how to drive due to AIDS. I wouldn't say HIV. So I just give it a bit of a time and then I logged in again. And maybe unfortunately for me, I didn't hear what Sis Sharon said, but you know what, Sis Sharon, we love you. And I think I came to realize that this link is not only for us. This link is also for our kids. So I've grown today to know that I'm going to forward this, whatever topic that you are raising, Melisonol Engineer, I will forward it to my kids, because this is not only for us, as I've said. If we get to teach our kids and have them to listen to such stories, I'm telling you, we'll save the world. Sharon, I applaud you. We are trying for relationships, we are trying for marriages, and we are going all out to an extent. I would sit here and say, show me a couple that has a year or two and still using a condom. We all know that this and that, and also trying to girlfriend, and would be like, no, it's fine, let's not use a condom. Just please, we are here eating lemon. So what I'm saying to you is, go on. At work now, before we get to have a product, we give out the samples to the suppliers, and then the sample that passes, will sell it. So, Sharon, I'll see you as a sample to the HIV victims, and God has chosen you, or you are not positive. You are so negative, and in a way, your health, but you are positive minded, or teacher. And go on. God will bless you. He will give you unlimited grace, And as you say that when you are down, you would go and have someone and you would be helping the world. And you know what? You are used as a sample that is sellable, that is with good quality. And I will call you if there's anything, because I am like, the world is here. So there will be something, and God forbid it won't be this, but I'm just saying that it might be a friend of a friend. Hence, I'm saying God forbid, or somebody at work that I would know, and I will just contact you, and I know and I feel you when you talk. And I ask for more strength, and you know what, go on. You are not HIV positive. You are negative, but you are positively spiritual. You are all that. And tswela pele ngwanesho, modimo a o keletša matšatši a bophelo, and a o godishe o tlo feta rena ba re reng re negative. We love you, and thanks Mele Litlhogonolo. This is great topics that you're raising, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna share with my kids. They're not gonna sleep early. They will listen to this so that they grow. I'm growing, so they need to grow. Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ausasi. You know, every time when I see you logging in, I get so excited. I was even gossiping about you the other day, telling Geneva, like, yo, I wish to meet Sasi. You know, every time when we have our speakers, when you come and add on or give words of encouragement, I'm like, is she a pastor? Is she a psychologist? You know, you have this warmth, you know, in your voice. And every time I don't see you, I get so disappointed. I'm like, where's she? You know, I know that when she wraps up, and I see how all these things always work. You're always there at the end there. And I'm like, oh my God, here she is. You know, I love this. There's a certain energy, man, about you that I always get, that I love so much, you know, but I'm still waiting for a day that we are going to have a topic whereby we have you as our speaker. I'm waiting for that. And thank you for the beautiful words that you have said to Shares and to the house in full. And thank you for you know, you are so right. Our kids needs to hear this. And I always, you know, I'm happy that now the technology doesn't fail me anymore. I'm able to can still be able to put these audios on our YouTube space. Is gonna be there for many years to come. You know, these kind of stories, the things that we share here, le rena ska botlhale ba rena ke ka botlhale ba Modimo, to be on episode 16 now. And bo ausi Sasi, bo ausi Lesego, bo ausi Pulane, you know, many of you, nka se le bitse ka moka ka le gona, the list is so long. You have been there from day one. Is when it shows that, you know, ke Modimo, it cannot be us, it's us and you, everyone else that supports us. And the topics that comes, you know, it's God, you know, God decides, God leads. And then that's why when we approach people to come help us, they willingly do so. Like, I was pretty, I think I only spoke to her 30 minutes before the session, you know, and she didn't even have a problem. It shows gore we all have that spirit of Ubuntu within us to just be there for other people. Thank you very much, Ausasi. We also love you so much. Let's see. Randan said he wants to be the last one to close. Do we have anyone else? I don't think there's any other person. So before we close, Shares, please write in the chat box there. Sharon has YouTube channel whereby she shares all about HIV, breastfeeding, everything that she has experienced through her journey. And then Rendani also holds sessions, a space on Twitter every Thursday at 8. It's very engaging there. It's, you know, it's very engaging. It's a bit different from ours, but you know, the purpose is the same, you know, sharing, you know, being there for one another, educating, you know, empowering, and all those kind of things. Rendani, can you please also write your Twitter handle there, so that those that would like to join you on Thursday, they can do so. Ladies and gents, please do check it out. It's such a great space to be in. And then says Geneva, after Rendani has said the last words that he wanted to share with us, I'm going to hand it over to you. But for me, you'll close for us. But for me, let me now just say thank you to each and every one of you. Modimo a letelle pele, a re hodise ka moka, and let's condomize. Guys, let's condomize. Let's take PrEP if we can. Mara, most importantly, through it all, let's be there for other people. Let's be there. As much as this sounds so easy, or there's so much education that's been done on this subject of HIV, is still something that we don't want. We don't prefer having that. We don't prefer having it. And those that find themselves in those shoes, let's be supportive. Let's be there. Baba lwalang, our parents, especially our parents, the ARVs and stuff. It's a long journey. It's hard. Let's be there for everyone. Buti Rendani, over to you. Thank you, everyone, and good night. Over to you, Rendani.
So thank you so much. I just felt I'm somebody I am very obedient to something greater than myself. So as I was hearing this engagement tonight, I felt is Sharon still here? Is she still here? Because if
Yes,
not,
I'm here.
oh, okay, okay. Yes, I just wanted to remind you, I'm not a pastor, people. I'm really not a pastor and everything, but it reminded me of something from the Bible, and I wanted to share it with you to encourage you. There was a story in the Bible, I don't remember where exactly, of Jesus after healing a certain blind man. Now you can imagine this man has been blind all his life. And, I'm sure there was mockery. There were people who were mocking him. He thought probably there was something wrong with him. He probably blamed God at some point. And Jesus finds him at a corner and he says, you know what? He heals the man. Now, the miracle for me was not the healing of the blind, but it's what Jesus said after he healed the man. He said to the man that for this purpose you were born, so that my glory shall be revealed through you to the world. Now, I'm listening to your story and I'm thinking to myself, there was a point maybe you felt down. There was a point you felt all these things. There was a point where people said whatever they wanted to say about you. But what I can tell you is that you don't understand the greater purpose or the greater purpose of the agenda of your soul. Your soul has an agenda on the planet, and it needed your circumstances to happen the way it did, so that you can be an example for the glory of God to be seen through you. And that's what I wanted to just encourage you on, to say, there was nothing wrong that happened in your birth or before your birth. Everything was orchestrated for a greater reason than you can possibly imagine. Just tonight is a testimony to say God is at work. And just like the blind man that Jesus healed, your testimony shall be heard for eternity.
Thank you so much, Rendani. Hello guys. I'm so sorry. I'm very emotional, and I want to add on what Rendani is saying. There is a certain verse in the Bible. I love it so much. I think it's Ecclesiastes. I can't remember the chapter, but then it reads, everything happens at the time that God chooses. God sets the time for birth and the time for death. God sets the time for love and the time for hate. God sets the time for laughter and the time for sad. This verse came to my mind because at some point, when she was speaking, she said that something like, why couldn't she have known or she's HIV positive way back? And then she only found out when her virus was no longer HIV and it was AIDS. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing things good, because I don't understand this whole HIV virus and AIDS. But then she did mention, by the time she found out, she was already over those terms. She was already at AIDS stage. That was God's timing. That's what God wanted, because there is a reason why he wanted you to find out at that particular age and not when you were still younger. At the time when you found out you were HIV positive or you had AIDS, God had already prepared you for you to be able to deal with these things. When we pray, normally we say gore ko ntata wešo wa magodimong re re modimo o re preparela dijo mana ba rena re lebeletse. This doesn't only apply when we achieve greater things or ga re reka dikoloi or ga re humana mebereko or ga re nyalwa. Sometimes it also happens ga dilo tše botlhoko di re tlhagela, you know, and for you to have actually be able to handle it the way that you have handled it. Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm very emotional because I shares it all because of Mudimu, because of bogolo ba Mudimu. You know, you did mention gore a lot ba lekanang le wena at the time ba fitile ba tlhokafetse, but wena Mudimu kgonne go beya, and it wasn't because and it was only because we still have a purpose in life. You still have a lot that you needed to achieve. You needed to have your beautiful boys. God still had to show you, even if you even if you in and out of hospital, you still have a beautiful life ahead of you. Certain things maybe your way at the current moment, but I promise you, whatever whatever God has prepared for you, it's greater than you could ever imagine. You are way blessed than if they don't have the kind of disease that you have. So, and I'm glad you mentioned Dore at the time when you found out relationship not entirely destroyed, but achieved. It's normal. It's normal for you to have felt like that, because if in Gavesa shifter, it would have been the way it needed to shift because it needed to shift because it's like when you are in a relationship and that person you cry because you felt something for that person, or you are feeling something for that person. Having said all of that, guys, let's condomize. Let's teach people about HIV. And remember, I think Osprit did mention the fact that one is HIV positive, it doesn't mean they are reckless. Sometimes you get infected because of the reasons that are beyond your control. So at the end of the day, there is only God who can save us. And it's only Him you know, we can only do up to so far, and then Jimu takes over everything. And if certain things they are meant to happen to us, and you find yourself only in a situation where you are HIV positive, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean Mudimu wants to punish you or anything like that. You could be somebody who's going to be saving lives because of your status. I'm sure if Shares didn't go to Mangkweni to do all of those things, I want a need to speak to Banabala or like their HIV Abagaida, even though she was still in a huge pain. Maybe some of them they could have taken their own lives. Some of them maybe they could have not taken their meds, and then the virus even exposed to their body until so your purpose, you saved lives, and I believe you are still saving lives, which you are way better than some of us. We don't know for sure because we don't test every day, but we are HIV negative, I mean to say. So sure, I don't know what else to say, guys. Let's try to stay safe. a rapele modimo le tlhogong le seto re kgaogane le thobalano o re rile condom ke kotse
Hai ke
that
le
is
condom ke
protection,
kotse re ka
guys.
se kgone go kgaona le
Oh,
thobalano re ka se kgone.
okay, a re kgaogane le thobalano akere okay thobalano yona re tlo e dira a re kgaogane le yona ra nyaka mara re tlo shumisha condom re tlo nwa di-PrEP le di-PEP. Some of those things I didn't even know because this topic nna ke legwala like ke legwala la mafelelo ke a itshaba. I don't want to talk about it. Every time when somebody talks about it ke betha le ke letswalo because hey ke a tshaba because but I've learned today gore these topics we need to talk about them, we need to educate ourselves, ke la gore like le ge motho a leng a na le bolwetse bokwe re tsebe gore re mo handla jwang. Also we must know gore how do we protect ourselves and our loved ones. I think ke tla felela guys.
Sesji, we have before we close, Shez want to say something?
Yes, I just want to say thank you guys for the platform and for the words of encouragement that I got. And one last thing, it doesn't matter how you got infected. At the end of the day, you have to continue with what you have. Thank you guys. Good night.
Before you all leave, can I just say, batong tlhe re upload go YouTube, you don't even comment, I can handle comment more, but please do support the YouTube channel as well, so that the videos and the messages that we share here, just go there, like, because you know what we have said, just comment. So oh wow, a lovely thing, just so that the YouTube algorithm.
Thank you for joining us this week. Let's connect again next week for yet another fruitful conversation.